BEE has failed to systematically exclude white South Africans from the economy, as it was meant to do, and it has failed to privilege black South Africans above all other races, despite being the harshest racial exclusionary law on the globe today. After 23 years as official government policy, BEE has not stopped white South Africans from vastly outperforming and out-earning every other demographic group in the country. Many use this fact as some sort of proof that whites are not at least economically persecuted in South Africa. Well, it is not. You see, the income between white and black has actually widened by an extreme margin under black economic empowerment. And the story of the 21st century South African economy really is one of Afrikaner entrepreneurial success in the private sector over and against rapidly rising black unemployment. The fact that Afrikaners and other white South Africans are not only wealthier than all other races, but in many cases are even getting increasingly wealthier despite 32 years of oppressive ANC rule and black economic empowerment laws, is often pointed to by critics as the result of some kind of historical privilege. Indeed, according to Stats SA, the average annual household income for white South Africans is 676,000 rands, or around 39,000 US dollars, while the average for black households is only 144,000, or around $8,500. The fact that the income for white families is roughly 4.5 times that of black families is often in mainstream media narratives and by politicians attributed to historical privilege or supposed historic injustices committed against the black majority population of this country. What many seem to can't get their head around is that nearly a quarter of a century following the introduction of black economic empowerment in South Africa in 2003, the white unemployment rate in this country remains at just over 8%, even while black unemployment has skyrocketed past 40%. Today I want to highlight that contrary to mainstream narratives, these figures demonstrably do not represent the fruits of historical oppression, but rather of the contemporary innovation and productivity of the Afrikaner and Anglo-South African, who have become resilient even in the face of this systematic oppression and persecution and discrimination in the economic sector. Economics, like every scientific field out there, requires a coherent theory to serve as an interpretive framework. Without such framework, brute facts cannot be understood in terms of real-world significance. As the influential Dutch philosopher Herman Dooyeweerd rightly pointed out, all human knowledge is dependent upon the acceptance of pre-theoretical institutions and non-demonstrable commitments of faith as the necessary framework for enabling coherent thinking. When we apply this faith to the field of economics, this means that depending on the economic theory or faith with which the data is interpreted, differing conclusions will always be drawn. To put this in perspective, listen to this. In contradistinction to the Marxist theory of economics, which is most prevalent in political narratives in South Africa today, the Austrian theory of economics explains economic outcomes primarily through individual choice, such as entrepreneurship and coordination of knowledge in the markets, rather than through what the Marxists believe, aggregates or state planning. It originated in late 19th century Vienna with Karl Menger's Principles of Economics published in 1871, which countered Karl Marx's notion that labor output equals economic value by introducing the idea of subjective value in which economic productivity is measured by the valuation as opposed by the input. To put this easily for you in a clear modern example, let's take a look at smartphones. The production cost of most phones is relatively similar, yet a flagship device like an Apple iPhone can sell for several times more than a budget Android phone. The difference is not explained by labor input, but by how consumers subjectively value the output. In other words, the product that is produced. At the core principles, reality and experience therefore can confirm to us that the Austrian theory is correct over the Marxist theory of economics. And in this framework, wealth and economic success itself are rightly understood as emerging from entrepreneurial discovery, long-term planning, savings and elective responses to market signals rather than from government redistribution or central design or labor input as a whole. This also points to the core flaw behind black economic empowerment, a discriminatory system designed to uplift poorer blacks against so-called or supposedly wealthier whites. This basic premise of all BEE legislation in this country is that inequalities between population groups are the result of injustices of the past or oppression, and that this must be rectified through institutional discrimination against those who had benefited from the instances of the past. And yet, a 2023 study by Professors Grive Chelwa from the African Institute in the UAE and Mashekwa Mabose from the University of Zambia in Lusaka and Derek Hamilton from the Institute of Race, Power and Political Economy in New York found that white South Africans now hold almost 20 times more wealth than their black counterparts, compared to only 9 times more at the end of apartheid. Under BEE, the wealth gap and income gap between whites and blacks in South Africa have widened by a significant margin in favor of whites. And despite BEE, the white unemployment rate has remained fairly stable, while the black unemployment rate has skyrocketed. In fact, between 1994 and 2025, black unemployment has surged from just over 24% to over 40%. And the largest share of this rise in unemployment and poverty has occurred under the BEE dispensation that has been in place in South Africa for the past 23 years. This, even though there have been over 140 laws passed in this country with the explicit purpose of systematically excluding whites from the economy. If there has always or ever been a prime example of a long-term case study disproving any theory that economic outcomes are the result of systematic oppression, then that is South Africa of the 21st century. But why is this? Well, whereas in the past, when white people could count on easily getting a job in either the public or the private sectors, post-apartheid South African whites have been left with the choice of either becoming more creative and innovative or perishing, precisely because they are being systematically discriminated against by BEE laws. And the net effect is that white South Africans have simply become far more resilient. Back in 1994, just under 60% of white people were employed in unskilled or semi-skilled positions. This figure has dropped to under 40% after 30 years of ANC rule. The vast majority, in fact, almost 2/3 of white South Africans, are now engaged in highly skilled enterprises. In fact, white South Africans are one of the most highly qualified and most educated population groups in the entire world today, far more than we were even at the height of apartheid. And on top of all of this, the rate of self-employment among white South Africans is now the highest in the world, and the percentage of whites now running their own non-VAT registered small businesses has almost doubled between 2005 and 2023. The reality is that the income and wealth gap between white and black South Africans has widened so much under the ANC. This can be solely attributed to the Afrikaner and Anglo-South African populations simply bringing their A game to the table and reaching new unprecedented heights despite the ANC government passing law after law after law aimed at excluding them from the economy. Several prominent and well-known examples of this include like Michiel Leroux, who founded Capitec in 2001, targeting the unbanked market and built this enterprise into South Africa's largest retail bank by customers, creating tens of billions in value. Adrian Gore even, who scaled Discovery into a global insurance and health tech group with international expansion. And one of the best examples, Whitey Basson, who has transformed Shoprite into Africa, the entire continent's largest retailer, with thousands of stores and massive continental expansion in almost every single sub-Saharan African country. And of course, the late Dow Steyn, who built a UK-based insurance empire and invested billions back into South Africa in luxury developments such as Steyn City. None of these men built their empires during the days of apartheid. And of course, they are just the tip of the iceberg. If we were to list the number of successful Afrikaner entrepreneurs or even white South African entrepreneurs who made their money under the discriminatory dispensation of the ANC that tries to systematically exclude them from the economy, I could probably go on all day. All of the data and all of the examples go to show that economic success in South Africa today simply cannot be explained by appeals to past injustices or to the past in general, but it is far more convincingly accounted for by present-day factors such as skills, entrepreneurship, discipline, the ability to adapt and create value even under adverse policy conditions, and probably most importantly, creative thinking. The private sector has been able to flourish not because of, but in spite of the devastating policies of the South African government under the ANC and today the GNU. Therefore, pointing to the wealth of white people in no way disproves the fact that white people are being systematically discriminated against, and interpreting this data as the result of too little systematic discrimination is demonstrably untrue. In a recent video, we highlighted why the ANC can't win and why they will sooner rather than later lose all political power in this country. Check out this analysis by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now. And do remember to follow the easy steps on the banner beneath me to become a paying member of the Willem Petzer Group. Only with your investment are we able to do the work that we do and produce every single day. Goodbye and God bless.